Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm just Sandy, and I feel like it has been so long since I last filmed something. I feel awkward, like, hello, did I forget how to be a booktuber? Anyways, we're here today for my June reading wrap up. Cannot believe we're already past the 6-month mark of the year. Bananas. But if you're new here, this is how this shindig will go. Essentially, I will go over some statistics about how my month went, and then we'll get into some reviews, and then at the end I'll talk a little bit about my TBR and what I wish to read in July. So I read 17 books. This is the most I think I've read thus far this year. And yet I am so behind and cannot find a way to get caught up on my reading goal. It's okay. I won't take it personally, but hopefully in July we'll get a little bit closer to this number. You know what I mean? It took me an average of about 3 days to read each book, which I think has been pretty consistent. I've been at about 3 to 4 days this whole entire year, and I definitely had some books that took me a lot longer than this month, but I had a lot of books that took me like a day or two, so it kind of averaged back out to 3 days, which is very different from other months, but I'll take it. My top moods have been dark, mysterious, tense, and adventurous. First 3 have been pretty consistent throughout the entire year, I will say. Adventurous caught me off guard, and I don't remember marking any of the books I read as adventurous, so I wonder where that's coming from. It says 6 of the books that I read were adventurous, and that's Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins, Reid, Where Shadows Meet, Silver Elite, Ice Planet Barbarians, Something Wilder, and The Night and the Moth. I guess I could see that for those books, but no, yeah, I can see it. Okay, I read 24% fast-paced book and 76% medium-paced books. That surprises me a little bit, but not really, because I've been trying to finish my physical TBR, which includes a lot of book subscription box books. And I don't really have much control over what books come in those. So again, I keep saying every month that when I'm done with my physical TBR, I'll have a little more control over the types of books that I read. But alas, here we are in another month and I still have 6 books left on my physical TBR. So someday we'll get there. July. Let's hope in July. I'm not promising you August. Another not very surprising statistic, most of the books that I read were in the like 300 to 499 page range. I think that's the perfect range of pages for a book. I don't know what it is lately, but like every book is over 400 pages and it really irks me. Like, when did we get rid of like the 300 and something page novels? That's the norm, my people, please. I all got so much to say. Say it in less pages, please. I think the thing with me is that if the book is too long, it doesn't matter how much I'm loving it, I'm going to get like exasperated, because for me, I don't know, I need like the gold star of like, you finished the book. Can we get like things as like series instead, and they're 300 and something pages each? That would be perfect. You know what I mean? I only read fiction this month. I keep telling myself I'm going to read 1 nonfiction per month, and I have yet. Well, let me not say yet, but I have not really been intentionally keeping that promise. The times that I have read 1 nonfiction book in the month, it was like not on purpose. Do I look like Moana in this outfit? Just a little bit. I don't know, that's the vibe I'm getting. I really had to like make sure that I placed the camera strategically so that it wouldn't look like I was topless. Fun times. Okay, most read genre romance has just been the vibe. I think it's because every book that I've read, regardless of genre, has had a romantic element to it, and that's why romance has been the top. Because I'm thinking like The Night and the Moth, it's a fantasy book. I wouldn't say that the romance is the primary focus of the book. However, it does have a romance subplot, and I would consider it a romance fantasy romantasy. And literary made a comeback in this one. I think this is because I've been reading a lot of weird girl lit. It's a sub genre that I've recently discovered, and I'm like eating it up. Although I'm in the middle right now in July into this one book that I'm like, it is very weird, but like not in a good way. Like usually the weirdness is entertaining to me, but this one is just like not catching my attention, and so it's just weird and not good. Okay, this one was a little bit surprising to me, and I think I've been in a little bit of like a physical reading slump, but I listened to 71% audiobooks, 6% digital, which I think it was just one ebook that I read, and then the rest, the 24%, was print books. And you know what? I'm not mad about it. I'm still consuming the stories. We're just in a different era, my audiobook era. And my average star rating for this month was 3.44. I'm just gonna keep saying that when I'm done with my physical TBR, this will be better. But we're running out of time. We're late.
I'm late for a very important date.
Alright, let's get into these book reviews. Since there's 17 books, I'm going to try to be a little bit brief, but hopefully you'll get a general gist of what each book is about and my general thoughts in like 1 to 2 sentences. So first we have Salem's Lot by Stephen King, continuing my mission to read every Stephen King book in publication order, and this one did not disappoint. Waffle also thought the spine was delicious, and it's just like really bothering me that I could feel this little piece of it like sticking out. Very sad. No longer in mint condition. But this is essentially Stephen King's take on vampires. And this author, Ben Mears, he goes and visits the town of Salem's Lot, where he lived for a short period of time when he was younger, in hopes that he'll get inspired to write more. However, once he gets there, he encounters a town that is being tormented by these strange happenings. A child goes missing, a dog is brutally unalived. Luckily not on the page. I don't think I remember that being on the page. And then, you know, just like all these other like weird, unusual things. Then I read Guillotine by Delilah S. Dawson. This was about essentially a girl who is trying to get ahead in her fashion career. So she dates this rich dude and goes to his family's like private island over Easter break. And something is just not right. There's evil afoot!
There's evil afoot.
I gave this 3 stars, which I honestly am now thinking about it. I think it's very generous of a rating. I was very intrigued for about 50% of the book, and then once we got like a reveal and understanding of what's actually going on, which by the way is in the summary. So I'm glad I didn't go into this and read the summary, because that would have just made my enjoyment of the book way less. Like the reveal of it was part of the very little that I actually enjoyed. After that, it was just like pure gore. That's not the kind of horror I like. Then I read The Glittering Edge. This book essentially is about a girl whose mom gets caught in this kind of like curse and her life is in danger. There is another character and his family is the one that's cursed, and he's trying to break this curse. And there's a third character, and his family is the one that caused this dude to be cursed. Now that the main character's mom is in danger of potentially losing her life because of this curse, she kind of gets all these unlikely characters together in order to mutually solve all their problems, I guess. This book was alright. I think that the magic system was interesting, and I could definitely, you know, see myself being interested in like the plot and the storyline. However, I just think that the writing style, because it is a YA book, it was just very, I would even go as far as to say that it was written pretty much like a middle grade, but with a bit more like older topics than you would see in a middle grade book. Yeah. So I don't know, it's just a little bit too juvenile for me, the writing style. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't my taste. Then I read Problematic Summer Romance, Ali Hazelwood's new book. And the sad part is that I forgot the book on the bus. I literally finished it and put it down. I think I was trying to like open my backpack up so that I could put it in. And then I just got distracted and forgot that that's what I was doing. I'm not really sure, but it stayed there. And now I won't have my edition with the tabs, and I don't think I'll ever reread this book because I did give it 3 stars. It just was not really my taste. But this is also the second book in the Not in Love series, and I also didn't enjoy Not in Love. I felt like Not in Love was just like way too much of a sexual premise, whereas I do not enjoy spicy books, and that whole book revolved around the spice element. Problematic Summer Romance I did think was a little tiny bit better. However, I was very frustrated with the dynamic between the 2 characters. So the premise of this book essentially is that Maya Kilgore, who is the younger sister of Eli Kilgore from Not in Love, is at Eli's wedding. And a bunch of his friends are at this wedding in Italy, and they're staying in this villa for like the week leading up to the wedding. And she has this massive crush on Eli's friend. However, his friend is like 10 plus years older than her, 15 years, I want to say. And so the whole premise of the books just revolves around the age gap, and they just talk about it so much. And I would like, I don't have an issue with age gaps per se. It's just the fact that Connor and his friends like infantilize her so much and make so many jokes about how she's a baby or a fetus and she's so little, and they laugh at her and they just like don't kind of like take her seriously. So it kind of like grossed me out. And then on top of that, yes, it is clear that he does have some type of attraction, at least to her, but he does not want to act on it and is constantly denying her and rejecting her. And it's just like, girl, like, how much is enough? You know, like, I mean, like, where's the line between persistent and, I don't want to say a mean word, but you know what I mean? Where's the line where we're no longer persistent and you just gotta like have some dignity? Then I read The Night in the Moth by Rachel Gillig. I think this is officially the most beautiful book that I freaking own. It's so gorgeous. Even like the end papers. Come on now. I'm obsessed. And I'm also obsessed with this book. My first 5-star of the month. My only 5-star of the month. Anyways, this follows a girl named Sybil who is a diviner. Essentially, diviners are people who they are drowned in this fountain and it gives them like a dream. And the dream, they see these omens and they're able to use the omens to say to whoever they're divining for, like, you have a good omen coming, you have bad omens coming, and The omens only speak to the diviners through these dreams when they're drowning. I know, this sounds really spooky. Anyways, this knight comes to town and he kind of just like throws everything for a loop. He has no respect for their religion. He has no respect for the divining. Like, he just is a heretic and he really doesn't care about any of this stuff. But he might be her only hope when, one by one, her fellow diviners start to go missing. Yeah. This book did take me a little bit of time to get into at first. It's just like a slow pace. I wasn't really sure how I was gonna feel about it, but you know, and then on top of that, like, the world building was just weird. There are these like provinces, towns, I don't know what they're called. There's like 6 of them in the kingdom. From my understanding, every person has the same job in each of those towns. So it just doesn't really make sense how they sustain themselves. But if you ignore logic, it's fine and it's fun. I'm sure they import things, okay? Anyways, back to the story. There also was this like gargoyle that talks, and I thought it was a little bit cheesy and I didn't enjoy that. But he does have his funny moments. I did really feel the connection between the love interest and really enjoyed that part of the book. I think I said this already. There were some funny moments that I enjoyed, and I did find myself to be like very invested in what was going on. And then what really got me is the ending. What an iconic ending. I really enjoyed this book. 5 stars, y'all. Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book is about a girl who wants to go to space and just her love life. I don't really want to say anything besides that. Hard to explain. I would probably have to read the description again, but I did really enjoy this book. I found myself crying for the characters. I found myself like just really feeling the pain of the things that they had to like give up and go through, and how unfair life was to them. I also really liked the fact that this wasn't necessarily like just like a romance. We got a very strong connection between the main character and her niece, and just overall a full picture of her as a person. Like, she wasn't just like a girl who loves space. Like, she had other interests besides that, and was just a very well-rounded and well-written character that you got very, very, very invested in. So I gave it 4.5 stars. I think that I just didn't have the 5-star feeling, but there's nothing that I didn't like about this book. Then I read My Husband by Maud Ventura. Essentially, this book is about a woman who is in love with her husband, like so in love with him that she's like obsessed. And good for you, girl. Like, you should love your husband as much as you do. I mean, it's been years and whatever, but like, go off, sis. Anyways, she kind of gives him these little tests to see if he loves her as much as she loves him, which, like, of course he's gonna fail some of them, you know what I mean, because he doesn't know what she's doing. She's unhinged, basically, is the tea. I gave this 3.75 stars. I felt like there were some very mundane moments, and I kept waiting for it to get really psychotic. And there were some things that, like, you know, were odd. This is definitely like weird girl fiction for surezies. It wasn't until the end that I was like, whoa, was not expecting that. So, any trope but you. This is also like a cutie woody book, but this follows Margot Bradley, who's basically a popular romance author, but she has a secret, and that's that she hates romance and she doesn't believe in it, and she gets canceled because people find that out. So she goes to this little town in, I think, Alaska to just get away from the sadness of being canceled. And she runs into this dude, and he is literally every romance trope embodied. And that's why it's called Any Trope at You, because we literally go through every single romance trope in this book. It's kind of spooky. I will say that at times some of it just felt like a little forced. The tropiness of it made it like a very corny read, so proceed with caution. Some of the corniness was like cute and funny, but some of it was just like a bit much in my opinion. But overall, it was just a general decent time. I gave it 3 stars. The Unworthy. This is basically a post-apocalyptic type dystopian, that's the word. This is a dystopian book in a world where something has gone wrong. You're not really sure. You kind of discover a little bit of it as you go through the book. But the main character, who I believe is nameless, lives in a nunnery, and there are the like unworthy, and then there's the enlightened, and based on your type of title, you're treated very, very differently. And she kind of just depicts and talks about her experience in this nunnery. There are definitely some like horror-ish elements. The characters are very extreme with each other. There's a lot of violence. They're definitely like very unhinged after being in such isolation for a long time. I thought that it was very interesting, kind of like the religious culty elements that are imbued in this, but overall I think I had very high expectations because I really enjoyed Tender as the Flesh by Agustina Basterica, and this one just didn't hit like that one did. So I gave this 3.25 stars, and it is a short read, but it took me a bit, and that's how you know that I wasn't like fully enjoying it, which is sad. What Kind of Paradise follows a man who has basically raised his daughter in isolation, and she and him have just basically lived on this like farm-like land all her life, when suddenly she starts to uncover some of like secrets of her dad's and why they live the way that they do. I won't say what it is, but I was very surprised to find out about that. You find out pretty early on, and then you spend most of the book navigating her discovery of it, getting more information, and kind of trying to prevent things from snowballing. I thought it was very, very interesting, but I find it hard to talk anymore about it without giving away what that thing is. I think you should just read it. I enjoyed it. I give it 4 stars. A Fig for All the Devils. Honestly, I don't remember what this book is about. I know that there's a dude and he meets the Grim Reaper, and the other thing that I remember, I think, is a spoiler. So yeah, I was so bored. I think I gave this 2 stars, and that's generous for it, or like 1.5 stars. I was bored, I was checked out, and I think I only finished it because it was a short read and it matched the prompt that I was trying to finish. Woo! Where Shadows Meet is essentially, there's 2 timelines. There's a girl named Thania. I confused the characters' names so much in this book, so maybe I'll just do what I've been doing for the rest of the books and not giving any names, because not good. But so there's the past timeline where this girl has given up her wings for love and then was kind of betrayed, TBH. And then there's the current timeline where there is the current crown princess of a vampire like community, and their stories are intertwined. I'm doing such a bad job describing this book. I immediately forgot what it was about after reading it. I thought that it was interesting. I was invested in kind of like the love stories and things like that, but I was very confused about how the stories kind of came together, and I think I did like disengage a little bit as I was reading this. So I gave it 3 stars. It just wasn't like my favorite. It was okay. I'm not even gonna make an effort to describe that book any better than that. Sorry. Then I read Silver Leap by Danny Francis. I had skipped this book on Book of the Month and had never heard of it prior to that, but I heard a lot of people talking about it and I was getting FOMO, so I decided to read it, and I can't say that I regret it. I gave it 4 stars. However, I am hearing a lot of things about like just speculation about this character, about not this character, this author, about whether this book was partially written by AI, and things like that. So I hope that that's not true, and you know, I'm glad that I don't feel the FOMOs anymore. I also thought this book was pretty interesting for what it was, except that I definitely felt parts of this book were inspired by other dystopian books. Like, I could see the influence of The Hunger Games or Divergent in this book, like just very clear correlations. Anyways, I'm not gonna make any accusations. I just, you know, made some connections is all. In this book, Ren has some abilities that only a select type of people have as a result of a modification from some kind of like radiation or something like that. But it has kind of been outlawed to have these abilities unless you're working for the government. Then you can use your abilities for the government, but you can't just like be living your life and be a mod. So Ren keeps it a secret. However, her careless mistake that she made has placed her in the hands of the enemy. So she now has found herself in Silver Block, which is essentially one of the, I guess it would be like a military training base, and she's training to be a part of the Silver Block. And then you also have the ability, if you really thrive there, to be one of the Silver Elite. And to be honest, most of this book is just her kind of going through the initiation process to be part of Silver Block without revealing that she's a mod and has these abilities, even though that's exactly what they're fighting against. And throughout it, she's also participating and aiding in the uprising against the people that she's literally in training to become part of. So I thought it was pretty interesting. There's definitely going to be at least one more book. I don't know how many. And I would be curious to read the rest of them and find out like what happens. But like I said, it just is very reminiscent of other dystopian books. And that lowers my enjoyment of it a little bit more. I feel like I've been talking for years. Next, I read Brutes, and this book essentially follows a group of girls who are about 13 years old who are obsessed with the preacher's daughter, Sammy, and then Sammy goes missing. This, I would say, is also like weird girl lit. These girls have like very strange, like very crude tendencies. I mean, they're literal brutes. And I think the book was well written. I just wish that we had a little bit more information than what I felt like we got. It was very open-ended, which left me a little bit confused. So I would have liked a little bit more answers. I gave it 3.25 stars though. I think it was well written, and definitely engaging as I was going through it. Then I read Something Wilder by Christina Lauren. I'm on a journey to read all of Christina Lauren's backlist, and so I think I'm almost done with this one. I think I have maybe 1 or 2 left. This one follows Lily, who is the daughter of a notorious treasure hunter. His name is Duke, and Duke essentially sold his ranch and all her dreams and sucks. So now, in order to like pay the bills and live her life, she gives these like fake treasure hunt tours to tourists, in the name of her father and his like legacy. And she is just like barely making it. She really wants to buy her dad's ranch back, like her dream is to live there, but they're selling it right now and she just doesn't have the money. And then she runs into Leo, who is her ex, who one day just kind of like exited her life, and this becomes a second chance romance where they go on a adventurous treasure hunt. The adventure mood from my stats. Anyways, they go on this like adventurous treasure hunt and just find themselves falling back in love with each other. I gave this 3.25 stars. I think that the fact of like the treasure hunt and how they're like finding a treasure that may actually end up being real, and just kind of dealing with potential like roadblocks and obstacles throughout the process was very interesting to me. I personally think that I've just not really a second chance romance type of girly, because if I'm gonna enjoy a romance is the idea of them falling for each other, whereas in a second chance they already have fallen for each other and are kind of rekindling those feelings of revisiting something that was already there. And I don't know if I enjoy that process as much as I do like the fun and exciting feeling of like discovering a new person and discovering you love them. So that's what kind of brought my enjoyment of this down. But overall, I thought it was kind of funny, interesting, adventurous, and fun. Oh, okay. I read Ice Planet Barbarians. This is essentially an alien romance. This girl gets abducted by aliens and then crash lands on a random planet with some other aliens, and she falls for one of them. There is a lot of spice in this book. It's very disturbing. There are a lot of interesting different body parts described that made me very uncomfortable, and I'm sad to admit that I thought it was kind of interesting just to hear about like the differences between the characters and how they get around it, and getting to know his like culture and what these aliens are like. So I gave 3.5 stars, and it was a lot of alien smart. And lastly, I read Bliss Montage. This is a collection of stories by the same author who wrote Severance, which is on my TBR, and I just like ran into this one. I don't really have a description for it because like I said, there are multiple stories. I think the first two are linked. I don't think that the other ones are though. It's very like horror adjacent, like we're right there from like this is about to be something horrific. I gave it 3 stars. I feel like it was kind of underwhelming. I did enjoy the last story, but besides the end of the first one, just the concept of this woman living with 100 of her exes, which like who has 100 exes? That's crazy. But yeah, they were out of these world stories that were some interesting and some kind of boring, not gonna lie. Okay, let's talk about the TBR. I feel like I've been talking for like 3,000 years though, so I'm not gonna go through all of it, but I do have a physical TBR with 6 books left in it. I know, very exciting. The fact that my physical TBR started at over 350 books and we are down to the last 6, like we're in the single digits, baby. And even if you include the 1 Illumicrate, 2 Fairy Loot, and 1 Book of the Month book that will come this month, it still puts me at single digits. Well, actually, it brings me to 10, but I'll read at least 1 before they come. And I'll still be in the single digits. Anyways, I do have 2 books that I really want to prioritize this month. The first one is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, and that's because I just bought this book and I'm really not trying to accumulate any new books that I bring into the house. So this is definitely a top priority for me. I already forgot what this book is about, but it's been on my TBR for a very long time. And on top of that, my best friend recently was like, oh my god, I'm reading this book, it's so good, you should read it, and pulled this one up. And I was like, it's a sign. And she has never failed me. Every book that she has said I should read, I have enjoyed. So she's not super bookish, but it's interesting that she knows me so well that she knows what I'm gonna like. So this one has just got to be a priority. And then the next book that I really want to get read is Grimm's Complete Fairy Tales. I think this is one of the books that has been on my TBR from the beginning, and it's literally the sheer size of it that has led me to like be scared of reading it, which is so ridiculous, to be honest, because this is what, like 700 pages. I have less than 700 pages. I most definitely read a couple of books this year that were more than 700 pages. So I gotta get it together. All right, and also these are like stories, a bunch of little fairy tales. So it should be pretty easy to kind of like pick up and put down throughout the month. I think I will start off with doing that, like just reading a couple stories here and there, and then just pick a time and really like buckle down and finish it, you know what I mean? But this one contains a lot of the classics like Little Red Riding Hood, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Cinderella, Hansel and Gretel, Rapunzel, Rumpelstiltskin, Tom Thumb, The Frog Prince. You know, all those movies that Disney has marketed to children. And based on like the little bit of this that I have read, this does not feel like it's for children. Like, it's very spooky, scary. Definitely like some trigger warnings and adult themes needed to have been included in this, because what? The friendships. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, leave a bunny emoji, because in July I will be participating in Sunrise on the Readathon. So leave a bunny in honor of that. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button. If you want to join the family, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I will see you all when I see you next. Bye.